Hi guys, welcome to the Sunday slot. It's 10:30. It's a beautiful day outside. But first of all, we're going to talk about Toby's magical journey. This is a wonderful charity. It was set up in the brainchild of Toby Etheridge, his mother Alison, and his father Richie. And they wanted to do something and put back into the community for younger people and young adults that have symptoms and signs of cancer, and a support mechanism for them, and only for them. So I'm going to bring on Alison and Toby to talk about their journey. Hi guys, how are you?
Fine, morning.
Not too bad.
Good morning. So let's talk about Toby's magical journey. It's quite a motive for me, purely for the fact that I have been involved to some degree over the years and seen the charity evolve over the years as well. But can I take you back to the very beginning? I mean, Alison, Toby, this before your diagnosis, you were just an ordinary family, weren't you?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. Working, Toby at school at St. Columba's. Prior to his diagnosis, he wasn't very well. He was very grey in colour. His legs were failing, very lethargic. I took him to the GP. He didn't have an answer, but he arranged for him to have some blood tests done, of which he did. And shortly after having those blood tests done, and I mean, we're talking a couple of hours, the phone call came where Toby was to be taken to the Victoria Hospital. And from there, it was after they spoke with Edinburgh Sick Kids, Toby was given a transfusion, stayed overnight, and then was transferred to Edinburgh Sick Kids. Richie, who was taking Toby to the hospital, because I was actually in with my parents at the time, because it was my father's 80th birthday celebrations. And Richie said, well, he was being looked after at the hospital. He'd come home, grab some more clothes, drop the car off, knowing what Edinburgh's like, parking, and take Toby on the train, of which he was told no, he was to come by car. He was admitted in on the 11th of December into the haematology and oncology ward 2, sick kids. Still unaware. Even the consultants said he wasn't presenting any cancerous signs. And it was planned that the following day he was going to have to go to theatre to have a bone marrow aspirate done, to check his bone marrow, to see what was going on. He had to have blood transfusion prior to theatre to get him through theatre. And then on the 12th, we found out the news that he'd got leukemia.
Did this all happen quite quickly then? Because yes. you hear stories of people like it takes ages for a diagnosis to happen.
It does. We were very, very lucky. We had, Finlay MacDonald, Toby's GP, was superb. He acted exceptionally quick, and on the back end of that, and the journey straight through from Victoria to Sick Kids was amazing.
Mm-hmm.
And then obviously on the 12th, he was diagnosed, which was my dad's 80th birthday.
So when this was all going on, Toby, how did you feel about this? I mean, what was it like for you?
Well, to be quite honest, I was oblivious to everything. I had never really had to go into hospital because I was your normal kid. I was sporty and done whatever. And I basically, it just felt like, oh, I've got to go to hospital. Okay then. Mm-hmm. So I didn't really have any thoughts on it. I mean, I got told I was staying overnight, so I stayed overnight. I didn't really have any thoughts on it. I thought it was just normal.
Mm-hmm. And so this period of diagnosis, then how long did that take to happen, Alison?
Less than 2 weeks.
Really? Okay. So what was the journey after that then? So the diagnosis happens, and then what happens after that? I mean, what is the next steps?
It was all rather fast. obviously diagnosed on the 12th. I arrived back on the 13th to see him. He was on fluids and blood when I arrived. He had a cannula, and it was all planned that on the 15th he'd be going into theatre to have a portacath fitted, which sits.
Oh, right.
It did sit there. It did for many years. An instrument that goes a pocket within the muscle here, goes up to a line into your main artery, and then that feeds all your chemotherapy, bloods, anything really. So on the 15th that was fitted, and then shortly after that chemotherapy started with steroids, and
So is this what this picture is then?
He's actually halfway through his intense treatment there. He's on doxorubicin, which is my eyebrow.
And what is happening here, though?
Well, basically, so I've got the line with the doxorubicin in going underneath my t-shirt into my portacath, feeding into my body. It's basically a chemo, so I mean, it's doing its job.
It was one of 9 that he had. He had 9 different chemotherapy treatments in total. Some would be injected into his leg, some would go into his spine, some would go tablet, and the rest would all be fed through his port.
And I take it this never. I mean, I've got a picture here of you, just sitting, almost like, it's obviously quite difficult for you there, sitting, waiting and waiting. Is that how you felt most of the time, or did it happen quickly, or was it always waiting, or?
Well, that was back in the Victoria Hospital before I was diagnosed. Because I think it was the night I stayed over before I got transferred the next day. My legs were in absolute agony. I was struggling to stand up and walk because I didn't know that I had cancer at the time. And so I just sat down because it was the easiest thing for me to do, as I would just sit down outside of the cloakroom in school because I was in so much pain.
So it's a consistent pain then, so that's one of the early signs, would it be? So what is the early signs?
That is one of the side effects with leukemia, or that particular type. So it's colouring, bruising, yellow in the eye, and also legs. Yeah.
Okay.
Definitely legs.
And then chemo, I mean, what for you, what was chemo like?
Like taking Calpol, to be quite honest.
Right, okay. Because a lot of people describe it as, was it because there was maybe painkillers or something, or because a lot of people describe it as being cold for some reason? I don't,
Well, there are some that I have had where it did feel cold inside of me. Obviously, there were some that I really didn't want to take because it was just a nightmare to have. Like Erwinaze, the massive needle went into my leg. That was one that I basically refused to take, but I had to anyways.
He was allergic to
pegasparginase,
which is a chemotherapy that's needled into your leg.
Wow.
And he took an allergic reaction to that. So instead of the blocks
of 12 weeks, three every 12 weeks.
Yeah.
I had the predecessor to it, the slow release.
So he had to have more.
I'd have
instead
Monday, Wednesday, Friday. I'd go in for it, and I think it was 9 that would build up to that one block of 12.
Yeah.
Was he a difficult patient at any point in time?
No.
Never. Oh, good. Well done.
No,
I had my spats, I will admit.
This is what we're getting to, Toby.
With the whole intense chemotherapy for leukemia, it's basically 8 months, and it's split into 10-week blocks. So when you got your sheet, your life revolved around these 10 weeks. And you kind of looked at the treatments to go, oh, this is not bad. Oh, this is going to be hell. Because some of the chemotherapies were kinder than others. Some raised false raised temperatures, which meant you had to stay in hospital. Some made you exceptionally sick. And one in particular where I can remember his nurse coming home, and the time she arrived, all you heard him say was 10, 11, 12. And by that point, she'd go, "You're coming in." And, so he was like, okay.
I was quite lucky when it came to being admitted. I think I was in for just under a month.
Yeah. He was a fantastic patient. We were so proud of him. And compared to other children who had the same cancer as him, he didn't spend much time as an inpatient. So he was textbook. We were very, very lucky.
So how did this affect family life, though? In terms of, I mean, because normal routine just goes out the window straight away, doesn't it?
Oh gosh, yeah, definitely. We were split. He spent the first 14 days in sick kids. He came out on Christmas Eve, which majority of the time Richie spent with him, and I would just travel backwards and forwards daily, because also there were still 2 children at home.
Yeah.
There was still dirty washing from the hospital to take home for Richie and for Toby. So I was travelling backwards and forwards daily, going out early in the morning, coming back at, say, 9, 10 o'clock at night time, getting everything done, barely having any sleep, and then going back again the following day to spend as much time as I could with him. The older 2 were fantastic.
Yeah.
They really, really were. And that's what happened initially. And then after Christmas, things started to settle down a wee bit. But we were still split for a long time.
It must have been exhausting. It must have been.
You run on adrenaline.
Yeah, effectively that's what it is. It's keeping you going.
But when you stop, when you get to... when we got to August, the 18th of August was his last dose of intense chemo in 2015. And after that, you're out of the ward and into clinic, and you're not going to be at that ward 3, 4, 5 times a week. You're maybe going to be there once every 12 weeks. When he had to go into theatre to have chemo in his spine. And you're then at home looking around going, what do I do?
You just kind of feel lost, because you've been basically, the way I describe it is that you've been knocked down and then brought up in this kind of hospital environment family. And then it feels kind of like when you finished your when you finished your intense, it's like you're not, I wouldn't say kicked out, but like you're like you just leave it and you have to go somewhere else.
It's reinventing the wheel.
Yeah. I mean, what advice would you give anybody out there, Toby, that, maybe shows some symptoms like that? What advice would you give them? And they maybe don't know. They maybe just feel they've got these symptoms, but they actually think it's just one of these things.
Well, the easiest thing to do would be to go to your GP or hospital, because sometimes it's easier to catch it earlier, or it's easier to catch it now better than never, because you don't know what happens. I was quite lucky to get it caught quite early on, because previously we thought I was just anemic, and that it was just growing pains. But
see, this is exactly what I thought. It's like, people will say that. It's like, oh, it's growing pains. That's a classic thing, because I used to have it all the time in my legs, every single time. It was so frustrating. I couldn't sit still sometimes because of it. But it's easy to misinterpret that, isn't it?
Even if you feel your child, every parent will know their child better than any GP. And if you know that something's not right, you keep pushing. We hear it so many times on the ward where they've not been as lucky as what we have.
Yeah.
That you know, they've had to keep pushing and pushing and pushing. And it's dreadful. And it really, really is dreadful. You know, we have this now, and they're in the drop-in, and they're free.
Mm-hmm.
And basically,
so what is that?
It's a fantastic little
Pamphlet.
It's a wallet. And on it, it's got all the signs to look out for.
Yeah.
Well, it's got all the different sorts of childhood cancers on there.
Mm-hmm.
And it's got all the information, and it's sponsored by the Mary Leishman Foundation, and all the information's from Macmillan. So
Jim's wife's.
Yeah. So and they're all in there, and we have lots of them to give away for any family, just so they've got them in their bag or wallet.
What about for people that can't get in at the time? Is it possible? Is there some information on your website, or is there, because your website's on this post anyway, and your Facebook page on this post, so there is information there as well, isn't it?
Even if they would like one posted out to them, not a problem.
It'd just be a case of just sending your details in, and then you could post something out to them. Absolutely. I mean, that's a great idea. So, and all this going on, where did the brainchild about the charity fundraising come from?
Shortly after being diagnosed, we're still trying to get our head around the idea, or not the idea, but it ought to sink in, because
I think I know the answer to this.
Oh, and then all of a sudden,
I'm a very ambitious child. Very ambitious 10-year-old who thinks that I am basically fine and that there are others worse off than me. So I was like, you know what? We're raising money because I want to. And so we started off with Click Sergeant. And I think it was £25,000 we raised for them in the space of about a year.
Wow.
We
done a bit for the ward, and we done a bit for CLASP as well. Because they all helped me out quite a fair bit. Yeah,
we bought some fundraising. We replaced all the mobile TV units on the wall to glass ones, so they were washable. And we bought some PlayStations and Xboxes, TVs, games, videos. He obviously raised a lot of money to Click Sergeant, who initially helped us. And then shortly after, they closed the Malcolm Sargent House holiday home in Prestwick. Toby came into myself and Richie and said, I want to set up my own charity. To see, so I know that all the money that's raised, I can see where it's actually going. We were dumbstruck, and we went, okay.
He's going to be a politician. Well, maybe not, because he's maybe too truthful. he's maybe too truthful. He's maybe not going to be a politician. He's maybe going to be a good lobbyist, I would say.
I think so. So back in 2016, we went and saw a really great friend of ours, Helen, at VONEF, and she helped us sort out all the paperwork. A board of directors was put together, and Toby's Magical Journey was launched in December 2016.
Wow. I mean, it's amazing when they think about it, and the journey and stuff that you've been doing. I mean, the one that I first got introduced to was obviously Santa's Grotto. Where we had Santa's Grotto in the office.
You did. It was fantastic.
Yeah, and it was absolutely brilliant, and that's obviously across the road in your location now from us. So wonderful place, and then COVID brought COVID in, so you had to do it outside.
We did.
And so that's under the tent, and that was a wee promotion when I met Santa. I'll chalk it up to one of these best experiences in your life ever, when Santa comes to see you.
Not that, it's when Santa's walking across the road and stopping traffic.
Stopping traffic, and it's to come and see you across at the office. And then Santa appeared in his DeLorean.
He did.
One year. And there's Andrea as well. And that was primarily, the Santa's Grotto appeared, and you started to go on with that as well. And what other things have you done for charity? What fundraising things have you done? We'll talk about what your latest one is at the end. But in the journey that you've taken for charity, what other things that have you got involved in?
Well, we've done so many. We've got Well, when we were back in 2016 and 17, he was still on treatment, and we were still not even coasting along, fundraising as we were going. We were providing items for families even then, and obviously we were approached by the hospital to take over the treasure boxes that go into A&E, the ward, daycare and clinic. So we were heavily into providing these. Toby was recognised, obviously, there.
Now this is the Kingdom Kids, isn't it? And also the local hero awards as well. But there's I do have I'll just have a wee lookie, and the treasure boxes as well. So what is the treasure boxes? What have they got in them?
Basically, so the treasure boxes, we put them into clinic, we put them into A&E, and we put them into the ward. And what I thought about was, you go through a procedure, big or small, a little like some blood being taken or coming out of theatre, and I think that it's nice for when you have done that, because you may not like it, you may not like having it done. I knew I didn't like having needles shoved into my legs constantly, and so I thought, well, if you're rewarded for it, it'll kind of take your mind off of it, so you have something to look forward to afterwards.
Good point. Excellent.
And so they would just go into the box, they'd pick one or two things, big or small, whatever they wanted, and there's a range of for young kids to older kids, and obviously toys for girls and boys and everyone.
So you can find in there anything from a
Bakugan toy to a book.
A book.
Well, I noticed in them as well, they had things like crayons as well. We had a picture up there now.
There's art equipment. You've got, for the older ones, you'd find nail varnishes, deodorant sets, lip salve, headphones. Then you go to the smaller age and the younger ones to baby toys.
Figurines.
It's everything. Socks, slippers.
I find that
a variety of everything.
It's a fair big box, eh? And somebody's got to do the shopping.
Correct. That's only the first trolley. There was another one as well.
There was another trolley behind the camera.
So, I mean, this does take a fair bit of time, though, doesn't it? I mean, it's getting involved in this and having to do it and everything like that. So it does take a fair bit of time. And you were recognised as a result of that, weren't you, at the Kingdom FM Awards?
Yeah, it was.
It was Kingdom FM Local Hero Award. I think it was 2017. 2017.
Yeah.
We had no idea about it. I was just invited to go along, so I went along in my tuxedo, and then I got announced as I got the Kingdom FM
Charity Fundraiser of the Year.
No, he was Child of Achievement. So there was do a fundraising.
Brilliant. Okay.
And then I think it was 2 years later, I was runner-up for Fundraiser of the Year as well.
Right. Okay. And so we've got the Kingdom Kids emblem, and this is Dave and Vanessa, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
It is. Now, because Dave and Vanessa had been a massive part of Toby's journey, this was actually God.
It was a bit of fun. I got invited on to the breakfast show on the 25th of April 2018, which is when that photo was taken. And I had just finished my treatment. I took my last dose the night before, and I basically announced to the whole of Fife that I finished my treatment, and I managed to skip a little bit of school.
Wow.
So when you finish treatment, you ring a bell, enter treatment bell. So he wanted to go in and ring the dinger finger in the studio. What he didn't realise was that Dave and Vanessa had a bell. So he rang his own personal bell with engraving on for his end of treatment.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yep.
So that was 2018 then, was it?
Yes, April.
So from there then, so
Yes.
where our journey continues on about the inspiration. So, you know, would it not just be the case your journey's over and all the rest of it, so that's the end of it? Or what kept you going then? What keeps you going now?
Well, yes, my treatment has finished. I'm still linked to the hospital because I get a checkup every 3 months, soon to be every 4 months or 6 months. So I will always still be a part of the hospital up until I'm 21. So I will still have links to them, but I think that either 10 or 11 children are diagnosed with cancer every single day, and one of them won't make it. And so I want to keep helping kids, because if I feel like if I'm gone, there will be something missing from everything happening. And so I'm wanting to constantly help out as much as I can in my ability to at least make these kids' lives.
But you've hit the nail on the head there, though, Toby. As much as you can with your ability, because the reality is you're still, you know, ultimately you're still recovering, if that makes sense. But you've still got school, you've still got everyday life, and then you do this as well. Do you have time for anything else?
I mean, I think so. Night times.
But no, he does very, very well. He does. But he was asked actually shortly after treatment finished, is this it? Is this the end of Toby's magical journey? Well, no, his journey still carries on. You know, he may be now coming up for 3 years in remission.
And it'll be 5 years of the charity being alive.
Yeah, his journey's still carrying on, and likewise helping others on their journey. So if we can do something to help every child that goes through the ward in some way, shape or form, then that's what we'll do. Yeah.
I've had a couple of comments. Anne-Marie said, good morning. Dad Richie's watching. So proud of you, Toby, he says. You've got Linda Whiteford as well. She said Earth Angels. You know,
Hi,
thanks
Linda.
very much for that, Linda. So you know Linda then, I take it?
Yes. Yeah, definitely.
Okay, so the inspiration from there then came from that, and then obviously, what came next? I mean, how did the transition come from your house to the base? You know, where did that come from?
We outgrew the log cabin.
The charity became too big because basically we had a little office in the back garden, and that was basically where the charity was being run from. 2 desktop computers and shelving above the computers.
Oh wow! Was that the wee office I saw?
Yeah,
that was how it was being run, and
jeez,
there wasn't enough room for everything to be done. And I asked if I could have my own place in town, so I'm solidified and I know that this is mine.
So what happened was, with initial funding from the Nationwide Building Society in Cooper, they set up the funding through their channels to fundraise for a building for us, which is where we are today. And then after that, we secured national lottery funding for the building. So we don't have any worries with regards to this at all.
Fantastic. I mean, most people, for anybody that doesn't know Cooper that well, if you do know the Co-op when you come in, it's literally across the road from the main Co-op superstore. That's probably the easiest way, I would say. Or it could be across the road from our premises at Fife Property.
From you.
I had to get that in. And you can park at the front of Fife Properties if you want, or round the back at our car parking if you're struggling for space. But probably the Co-op has lots of parking anyway to get parked. And you can get outside the front of your premises as well, can't you?
Yep. And also we've got our own car park up the side, so through the gate. So we're lucky.
So what does 126 Bonnygate do? You know, what do you do here? What happens? What goes on?
Pre-COVID, because obviously everything's changed. Pre-COVID, we do an awful lot.
Yeah.
We have a crafters corner at the front, where we have local crafters who make items, and they're sold here, of which percentage of that comes to the charity. So we're promoting local, and they're supporting us. We then go into the middle zone of where there's a quiet room, which at the moment is holding toys, and at Christmas transforms into the grotto.
Yep.
And then through in the back is the activity room. Where
does Santa have to write to you in advance to book the grotto every year?
Does. He sends us a letter.
Yeah, because I was about to say, it's like, because he would have to book it in advance, wouldn't he? And he'd have to request it.
He does. Normally about summertime.
Right, okay. So you should be, in the next couple of months, you'll be getting a letter from Santa saying, is there any chance I can get the grotto for a certain period of time?
Exactly. And then we go back into the back room, into the activity room. And in there, you've got the surround sound cinema system for films. And we have activities in there. We can do craft mornings. We have bingo nights, fundraising. We do stuff with the local children as well. And then also it's there for use for any child that would like to come that's obviously on treatment. And they can park around the back. They can come through the back door. So they're not seen if they don't want to be. And they can just do whatever they want to do.
Yeah. It's quite a deceptive premises because you just see the shop front and then you walk in, it's like a TARDIS, effectively, inside.
I know. It is a bit.
It was when we were looking at it, I was like, it does look quite small. And then when you actually walk in, it just opens up and there's just so much. Yeah. You wouldn't expect it.
Yeah. So at the moment, obviously, with lockdown, we're working behind closed doors because cancer doesn't stop.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
that's the reality. We had spoken about this, and I had spoken about with me being a Make-A-Wish volunteer for about, I think it's 15 years now. And we're not able to do wish visits because I usually visit the house. I usually visit the people, but we're not able to do that because of COVID, and it's even quite difficult to get even on Zoom with people and arrange that. So all this is actually almost ground to a halt in terms of helping other people. So it's something that a lot of people aren't aware of about how you have to now adapt and change and engage with your audience on different levels and different platforms.
Believe it or not, last year we helped more families than what we've ever done.
Yeah,
we changed the dynamics of what we would normally do. So for those that were stuck at home, we sent out activity boxes, whether it be for just regular or whether it's themed. We sent out family vouchers for supermarkets. We sent out for the older children the Xbox, PlayStation ones, so they could purchase games or whatever.
Yeah.
We've done shopping for people, that's been local to us. Yes, we still had to go and get toys.
Mm-hmm.
We were seen at Sick Kids a few times last year, whether we were dropping off art equipment for the wards because they wanted to do activities for the inpatients, whether it be the treasure box toys and also items for palliative care.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So we were seen a fair few times. We tried to limit it for everybody's safety, but we were still visible delivering items right up until Christmas because they were short on Christmas presents last year. So we took up many, many deliveries of Christmas presents for the children that were inpatients too.
Yeah, I mean that's one of the big things that suffered to a degree. It is the normal channels of how people were able to give and contribute towards their community have actually changed, and you've had to adapt quickly, haven't you?
Very much so. So it was a complete change of dynamics last year, and it has been so far this year.
Yeah.
So we'll just see how things go. That's all we can do at the moment.
I mean, this can't be anything without your volunteers. Really, that's what it comes down to, doesn't it?
Correct. We're very, very lucky. we have a board of 8 trustees, where everybody's volunteers, so there's no staffing costs involved in the charity.
Yep.
So we are really, really lucky that we have such a wealth of experience across the board, and also other regular volunteers also. That's Toby, obviously Volunteer Week. As many as we could.
Now, is Toby just near the camera and the other person's farther away, or is that the fact that Toby's just quite tall now?
No. Heather was Heather's on the one of the trustees, and we were presenting Paula with a volunteer award. Paula's fantastic. She'll be elf on the shelf. She'll be in the back running the craft mornings. She'll be seen behind the till.
When it's ladies' night,
when she's on if we do a ladies' night, she'll be seen there giving manicures. She's brilliant. Yes. Middle child.
Yeah, and it is the volunteers that basically push it forward, because without people, I mean, Joe Strummer said it from The Clash, without people, you're nothing. Ultimately, right. You're an island on your own, and you need people to support you and help you. We've got another comment saying from Jackie Wright, hi, how you doing? You're doing an amazing job. And that's from Jackie. So, this takes us on to the next one. So you've even been mentioned at Parliament, I think, as well.
Yes, we were. We had the great pleasure last year to meet Wendy Chamberlain. Wendy came into the drop-in. She wanted to hear more about from Toby. She wanted to have a walk around the building and just to get a feel of what we do. And she signed herself up to become a volunteer.
Oh, wow.
So,
superb.
Yep. So every couple of months, Wendy will come in and she'll volunteer. And I got an email back in November last year from Westminster office asking me that could I give information over, because there was going to be a debate in Parliament over childhood cancer. So on the 1st of December, there was a debate, and and that was the news article backing it up.
And the headline, I mean, it's something else. You must be doing something right if for someone to actually to see what you're doing, and recognise what you're doing as well. And it's a combination of all these things that get out to people in the actual local community and wider afield in order to get your cause seen and heard and help enough people as possible. Because ultimately, that's why you're there. That's why you exist, and that's what you need to do. So the more people, I suppose, the more people would share these posts that we're doing just now, this broadcast, the more people will actually see it. The more people that comment on this broadcast as well, the more of their friends begin to see it as well, and the more people that like and share sees it as well, because social reach is given by Facebook as a result of that. So if anybody out there is watching, please feel free to share this with other people, just so, because you never know. I mean, what is the statistic for cancer in children? Is there some sort of statistic? Toby had touched on some numbers, and it could happen to anybody, really, couldn't it?
Definitely, and it could. And the general perception of people is that cancer only happens to the older person. That cancer doesn't exist for a child, and it's rare. It's not rare. And it's not rare at all. And it quite clearly says there, 11 children and young people are diagnosed every day. And sadly, 3 of those children won't make it.
Wow. So is it the diagnosis being as quick as possible would increase these chances?
Oh, I would say yes. But also it's the type of cancer.
Yeah.
And sometimes, sadly, there's complications. Sadly, one child might be diagnosed with one form of cancer, and then they're in remission, and then it comes back, but it may not come back as that same one. There might be a twist. It's hard to say. We've seen a lot of children die on the ward,
Right.
especially every single year.
That can't be easy.
No, it's not. No, it's not. You know, the first one was a little boy, and I remember I was on the ward going into the sluice to drop something off, and the horror of seeing him. And he'd actually asked to go to Rachel's house, and he'd been told he'd got a couple of months.
Mm-hmm.
And he died the next week. You know, we've seen a lot of boys die. We've seen a lot of girls die. You know, we've been closer to some than others. We know a lot of them, and it's been heartbreaking, absolutely heartbreaking. You know, from day one, I never ever thought that Toby would die. Never. Didn't even cross my head. But it wasn't until one day we were upstairs and I was changing your bed. We were just chatting away, and I said to you, "Can I ask you a question?"
Mm-hmm.
And he went, "What?" And I said, "Did you ever think that you would die?" And he says, "I've been waiting for this." And I said, "Well, how do you feel?" What was your answer?
I mean, I think it was along the lines of I didn't feel it. It was just kind of like it was there. I dealt with it. If it happened, it happened. If it didn't, it didn't.
I think with leukemia as well, you can't see it.
It's not visible. Yeah. It's blood.
You know, it's not like a tumour.
Mm-hmm.
So it is slightly different. But no, never crossed my head for him. But sadly, we have seen a fair few people go from the ward.
So I guess that's what spurs you on to keep doing more and more and more.
Yes. Yeah. It's just to make life a wee bit easier for every family and for every child. And when you go on the ward and you're delivering the toys on, you know, when you're able to, at the moment, you're not allowed to go to the ward, you can only go to the door. But if I'm going in with toys and the children that I'm walking past see the toys, and it will be a case of, go on, choose something before they go in the box, and choose something else, go on, you know, and it's great. It's a lovely feeling to see that the money that's been raised, whether it be from one of the tubs in town, an event that we've done, you know, go to do this, and then to put the smiles on these kids' faces. It's fantastic.
I think that's what it does come back to, doesn't it? I mean, you know, we've seen so many programs on the television about, you know, cancer wards and children and that, and I'm always amazed at the resilience, you know, because as adults, we're maybe jaded over the years of how to react to something like that, but for children, it's resilience. It's almost set in nature to just bounce back.
Every child grows up so fast on that ward because they have to. You know, their conversation changes because they're surrounded by nursing staff, consultants, you know, parents. Their circle of friends, because they're now immune suppressed, is now limited, you know, for their own safety.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes they're not allowed out of their room. Sometimes they can mix in small groups, you know, so life completely changes, and they're resilient. You know, we are the ones that take the brunt, obviously, and you know they take the treatment, and every single child on that ward is so brave.
Yeah.
But to them, they have no choice. They have to do it, and you just try and make life as easy as you can for them. You know, they have a lot of people that come in, the clown doctors, for instance. They're a fantastic team of people that come in and entertain the children.
So is this the doctors that dress up as clowns then?
Clown doctors?
Yeah.
Yeah, but not, they're you have to Google them to look into them, and they're fantastic people. And they do, and they come in and they entertain the children, whether it be through a glass window because they're in isolation, or face to face. They're just there to put a smile on a child's face.
Yeah. And
Brilliant.
touching on the resilience, I mean, what age are you now, Toby?
15. I had to think about that.
Yeah, at 15 years old, I would never have been able to do what you do just now, Toby. I was still completely immature. Some people say I still am, by the way. But that's another story.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's amazing how you've at 15 years old you're able to do this and able to get involved so much and able to know what you want to do, because at your age I had no idea what I wanted to do. I didn't know what I wanted to do because I probably didn't know about what was out there at that time. And my, as I said, my level of maturity probably wasn't that big. It was never my point of readiness, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
In that time, but maybe you're more than likely going to do greater things, Toby, as a result of what you've learned so quickly, in terms of being able to deal and handle in situations, at such an early age. That's probably the what's the blessing in disguise that's come out of this, I would say.
Yeah, it's I certainly didn't expect to be, doing this. However, this is a vision that he had from day one, and it's a positive vision to help so many others, and it's what we're trying to do.
And then he announces before, just when we were sitting backstage, that I've started running.
Yes.
So he started running, and this and I kind of thought that would happen because this is the next stage for you. So the Joseph Elleridge Memorial Walk. So tell me all about this. What is this memorial walk?
Well, basically, so my granddad died of acute lymphoblastic leukemia back in 2011, and it would have been 10 years since he had gone, and it would have been his 75th birthday this coming March.
Mm-hmm.
Well, because Macmillan have helped me out, and they helped him out so much, that I thought it would be nice to give back to them for what they have done for our family. And so I thought, in what I can do at the best of my ability with being in lockdown would be to walk 75 kilometers throughout March.
Okay. So what are you trying to achieve out of that? What are you trying to fundraise? How much are you trying to fundraise? Because I've put the link in this post. So the link in this GoFundMe post is in there. So anybody can click onto that and contribute towards it. So how much are you trying to fundraise?
We're trying. Well, I've put down £750.
Okay.
To do that. If we can get more, then absolutely fantastic. And then what we're doing is we're splitting the money down. 50% comes to TMJ, and the rest goes to Macmillan.
Yeah. Okay. So, and Richie actually makes a valid point there. It normally costs about £500 per month to keep the treasure box going. This is just for the hospitals itself. So what about I do a wee favour for you? If you raise £750, I'll match it with £750.
That would be amazing.
That'd be amazing.
Okay, so anybody out there that wants to contribute, so every pound that you put in up to £750, then I'll put £1 in as well. Happy to do that. So that means you'll probably end up at £1,500. But let's hope it actually goes beyond that as well.
I'd like to think so, because when Joe died of ALL, I never dreamed to think that in 2014 that my son would be diagnosed with it too.
Mm-hmm.
So, and it's not hereditary. It's sadly the lack of, it's just chance.
Yeah. So the final thoughts on this. So let's we're coming up to the hour just now. So the final thoughts on this about where things are going. You're going to be doing the 75k. Is that all going to be at once, or is it going to be over a period of time, or?
It'll be over the course of March. I could do a little bit one day, but a bit more the next day. If I'm having to go into the school premises, then I'll do it after I've gotten off the bus. Or if I'm doing school at home, then I'll do it after I've finished. Because every March consistently for the past few years, I would walk the Tay Road Bridge. Because of lockdown, first lockdown, we weren't able to do it last year. And I thought that we could do something different this year, as we're still able to exercise. And I think it would be a nice way to be able to honour him and what Macmillan have done for us, but also a way to be able to build myself up, as I wasn't able to do much exercise-wise while on treatment, and it's kind of like a personal goal for me as well.
Good. And this will help you, and it will help Macmillan, and also help other people as well when you help through the charity.
Yeah, he's going to have people walking with him occasionally from a distance, whether it's his brother, whether it's some of the other volunteers, but you know, he'll be plotting it all on Strava, and we'll be posting it up at the end of every day with a picture, so people can see what he's getting up to.
And we'll see that on the Facebook page then, I take it.
Yep.
So, and the Facebook page is on this post as well.
Yep. And that's
so anybody can follow, anybody can like. Best follow. If you like a page, it's fine, but you're better to follow a page, because if you follow a page, any notifications that come on, you get notified about it straight away. So following is more important than liking a page. Or, you know, we're not saying choose one or the other though. We're just saying follow is the most important one, because obviously that keeps you up to date with any notifications that will happen.
Yeah. So that's what he's planning to do. So he's in school tomorrow. So as soon as he comes off the bus, he's coming here to get changed, and he's setting off from here about 4:30.
Perfect. And I'll be more than happy if you would like to invite me out at some point in time to do a wee live vlog about what's going on our Facebook pages, and tell people a bit more about what that is. So guys, thank you very much for coming on the show. I really appreciate it. So I've got to say, it's a wonderful charity. Anybody that's watching out there, again, the link's in there for the actual website, the link's in there for the Facebook page that you can follow. The GoFundMe link as well is in there for the 75k kilometers that Toby's actually undertaking for the month of March, and to raise funds, and we will match it up to £750, a like for like. So any pound you put in, we will match that pound as well. So that's it for now, guys. Thank you very much for coming on the show, and thanks everybody else for watching. And bye-bye until next week on the Sunday slot. Bye-bye from us. Bye-bye.
Bye.